Hi there, this is part one of a special look into the top 10 problems that millennials are facing for probably the next 15 to 20 years. These are the things that have been voted for and young people have been asked, and this is the statistics that have come out. And I think that they all seem to have some very important stories behind the headlines, if you like. Now, what's surprising is the top agenda, or what you would say is the biggest problem that we face with this survey that was done in 2017 is religion and the conflicts that religion cause. Now, straight away, we are hit with such a massive human problem right there. A human problem based on a story that scientists and certain people will say has no proof of ever being anything more than a story. Now, I'm not going to just take the atheist view on this, because I think that would be wrong, because the story of God in all the different religions are definitely, they've been meaningful in history for a large amount of time, to the point where in 2020 I can find out that only 3 years ago lots of people all over the world voted for this being one of the most crucial and most important conflicts and sort of negative problems that we have in the world. So I think it's only best that we try and tackle the first one. Now, what is the problem with religious conflicts? Now, as you can see, I think what religion unfortunately does is it segregates large amounts of human beings, and via that segregation it creates a wall based on that you being different to me. Now, why is that such a big problem? Now, let's just take this, let's dissect this problem to me and you. Now, me and you are two completely separate individuals, and we have to share a 6x6 cell, room, whatever you like. So you have a different religion to me, you have a different skin colour to me, you have a different background to me, you have a different looking body to me, and you take in all these differences. Now, the strange thing is when we share that 6x6 room, there is no need for me and you not to get along. If I'm a Christian and you're a Muslim, we can actually get on just fine. If you have different beliefs socially, morally, we can still get along just fine. The problem is we don't really know how to communicate these different perspectives to each other in a way which would make us get along. Because without doubt, I can tell you certain things where what makes me and you completely the same. I am guaranteeing that me and you have the same emotional feelings. We have the same amounts of love, compassion, empathy, and rage and anger inside. Exactly the same. Now, it might come out in different experiences, but me and you are no separate with this emotional feeling. And I think that even if I was more privileged and had an higher education than you could quite easily learn to read a book just as well as me, because we have the same brain, the same shape, and the same things going on. There's lots of things that are similar between human beings, and we only concentrate on the segregated parts because past society and cultures and religions and these, turn into the conflicts, they show us that there's a difference between us. There's a border around us. You're black, I'm white. You're an immigrant, I'm a national. And all of these ridiculous labels that we put on stuff. So my plan was in this video to go through 5 quite easily to see if we could work on them. And right straight away we see that the first one, the top of the agenda of religious conflicts and the conflicts that religion brings, is very difficult based on the fact that we have a belief that there is any difference between me and you, or you and your neighbour, or you and somebody from Iraq or Israel or America or Spain. Now what's different is that culture and that society and that history. And yes, the beliefs will be different, but it doesn't mean that we have to kill each other for it. It doesn't mean that we have to strangle each other. It means that we can have some very exciting, some great intellectual conversations about religions and social sort of cultures, childhood traditions. It means that we can engage brilliantly and beautifully, but we choose not to. Now what is this thing that doesn't make you trust these natural instincts? The fact that I will be using the same toilet as you will be using in this 6x6 cell. I will be using the same shower room. I will be washing at the same sink. I will be sleeping in the same bed. However, we have this mind that can imagine so many different realities, but because they do not merge, we fight, we destroy each other, we kill. Isn't that ridiculous? Doesn't that have to stop going forward? And the same thing that causes that imagination to have the belief of different stories is the same tool that we're going to use to have open, honest discussions. You see, there's a lot of people at the moment, like atheists, that don't take religion serious. Now that's going to upset religious people, that's going to anger religious people. And just like I say with feminism and Black Lives Matter and these sort of political movements that have a biased agenda, they polarise from the thing that they think that they don't want to become the thing that they actually hate. And they don't even know it, they're unconsciously becoming it. So with religion, it's not about destroying all religions all over the world, even though there's a good common sense argument for that. Without all these stories, it makes sense that we wouldn't have as many religious conflicts. But also, we've got to say, but isn't that all believing in one God? Isn't that all saying you listen and follow one religious leader? Doesn't that just sound like something where we're still going to fight over? Because no one can be free, no one can have a belief, no one can have an imaginary thought, the very thing that creates an atheist having a belief of non-religion. And I don't think that people really get that there's nothing different or separate from us. We are just one free-flowing organism. We are a biological organism that grows together. And we don't see it, and we've never seen it like that. But if you take your personal life and you look at history, your personal life would have had lots of pain and suffering, and you would have grown and expanded and reacted based on that. Some lessons you might have learned for the best, some lessons you might still not know. I see history exactly the same. Lots of stuff where we've never learnt any good lessons from, even though we've had the pain and suffering. We've had some great things to come out, like Martin Luther King. We've had, the Winston Churchill beating Adolf Hitler, this small country standing up for what's right. And is there a chance of not one person ever dictating and trying to take over the world again? We haven't eradicated that, really, have we? We have the fears of North Korea and Russia, who won't be, they're not open to dialogue. Very dangerous, and it's very scary. And they're just doing what they think's right. It's quite a natural reaction. Why do we need to speak to anybody else? But we have to somehow break down these borders. Like emotionally, you have to break borders down to grow. We've got to break down these human barriers, and we've got to connect it as if it's one organism moving forward. Religion is a tough one, and I don't want to get rid of all the religious stories, because there's some great points from religious stories. There's some great insights that can really help you. I mean, it's probably got some Jews through the Nazi camps having this belief in God, and it's probably saved some people who have been kidnapped and kept in a cellar alive in this imaginary belief. So it's not really that bad. But what's bad is when two different beliefs fight each other. Now that's nonsense. That's ridiculous. And that's got to stop.